Beloved, there is a truth so profound, so unshakable, so eternal that if you build your life upon it, no storm will ever topple your house. That truth is this: God alone is the true source of supply. The world may tell you otherwise, men may boast of their power, institutions may act as if they hold your destiny, but behind every channel, behind every provision, behind every door that opens, there is but one source. To forget this truth is to live in fear, but to remember it is to live in freedom. Consider for a moment the very beginning of creation. The earth was not formed by human hands, nor were the mountains carved by man's strength. The rivers did not decide to flow, nor did the stars choose to shine. It was the word of God that called forth supply from nothingness. It was his voice that planted trees heavy with fruit, his wisdom that poured silver and gold into the veins of the earth, his love that filled the oceans and the skies. Humanity entered a world already abundant, already overflowing, already prepared. Man did not sweat for the first harvest, he simply received what had been spoken into being. From the very foundation of time, God revealed himself as the source. But through the ages, mankind has lost sight of this truth. People begin to trust the channels and forget the source. They bow to their employers as though they were gods. They cling to their savings as if money itself sustains them. They tremble before economies and markets as though the rise and fall of numbers determined their fate. Yet all these are but shadows. They are vessels through which the true supply flows, but they are never the fountain. Jobs end, banks collapse, currencies weaken, but the source remains unchanged. When you attach your security to channels, fear is inevitable because channels can shift. But when you attach your faith to God, peace is unshakable because the source never dries. Think of the river. It may flow through valleys and forests. It may change course over time, but its existence depends on the spring from which it arises. If the spring is strong, the river will always find a way. Your income, your opportunities, your resources are rivers. They may shift in appearance, they may flow from unexpected places, but behind them all is the spring of divine supply. Lose one channel, and another will open. One door may shut, but a greater one will swing wide. The source is never exhausted, and so the rivers will always flow. This truth is why worry is unnecessary and fear is wasted energy. The one who knows God as their source does not tremble when a job ends, does not panic when a client departs, does not despair when circumstances change. Instead, they rest in confidence, saying, "The source is intact. My river may take a new path, but the spring has not failed me." That assurance is wealth beyond measure, for peace of mind is greater than silver, and confidence in supply is richer than gold. Yet many lie blind to this. They build altars to channels and wonder why they live in anxiety. They say, "If this person leaves me, I will be ruined. If this company fails me, I am lost. If this investment dries up, my life is over." Do you see the error? To depend on channels is to build your house upon shifting sand. To depend on God is to build upon the rock. When storms come, and they always do, the house on sand collapses, but the house on the rock stands tall, untouched by the winds of change. To live in the awareness that God is your source is to live in liberation. You no longer fear men, because men are not your providers. You no longer worship money, because money is only a servant, never a master. You no longer crumble under bad news, because bad news does not change divine truth. You can face every season with confidence, knowing that supply is as certain as the sunrise, as unstoppable as the tide, as faithful as the beating of your heart. Remember the words spoken in Scripture, "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want." It does not say, "My employer is my shepherd," or "The government is my shepherd," or "The economy is my shepherd." It says the Lord, and because he is the source, lack has no dominion. Even in wilderness, manna fell. Even in famine, ravens brought food. Even in drought, water sprang from a rock. Time and again, the supply bypassed natural limitations because the source is not bound by circumstances. What seems impossible to men is effortless to God, because he is not limited by channels. If you would step into this truth fully, you must renew your mind daily. You must break the habit of looking at appearances and call forth your faith in the unseen source. Appearances will scream lack, bills may stack up, doors may seem closed, but appearances are temporary. Truth is eternal, the unseen controls the seen. Speak it boldly: God is my source, my supply cannot fail, my abundance is secure. Let these words take root, and you will find fear losing its grip. God's supply is not rationed, it is unlimited. He does not give sparingly, he does not provide reluctantly, he does not measure with a clenched fist. His nature is generosity, his character is abundance, his law is overflow. Look at the world he created. Did he make one star or countless? Did he make one flower or fields overflowing? Did he make a single grain of sand or shores unnumbered? Scarcity is not his language, abundance is. To believe in lack is to misunderstand his character. When you know God is your source, you begin to see money differently. You stop seeing it as a master to serve, and you begin seeing it as a tool, a servant of divine purpose. You stop being enslaved by the need to clutch it tightly, and you begin allowing it to flow freely, knowing it returns multiplied. Fear of loss disappears because you know the source can replace tenfold what left your hand. Generosity becomes natural because you trust that giving cannot diminish you when supply is infinite. This awareness transforms not only how you view wealth, but how you live daily life. You rise each morning not in dread of bills, not in fear of lack, but in confidence that supply is already flowing toward you. You go about your work not as a desperate chase, but as joyful cooperation with divine abundance. You face challenges not as threats, but as opportunities for the source to reveal new channels. Every problem becomes a stage for provision, every setback becomes a doorway for greater blessing, every closed path becomes a chance to witness a miracle. Beloved, the world may ignore this truth, but you must live by it. While others chase channels, you stand rooted in the source. While others panic at closed doors, you rejoice, knowing better doors await. While others bind themselves to fear, you walk free, unshaken, unbent, unbroken. God alone is the true source of supply, and because of this, your life is anchored in abundance. What you need will always find you. What is yours cannot be withheld. What flows from the source cannot be stopped. Therefore, lift your eyes from men to God. Lift your trust from channels to the source. Speak it boldly until it echoes in your spirit. I am supplied, I am sustained, I am supported, because God is my unfailing source. Live from this truth, and you will never again fear lack, for lack is an illusion before the abundance of heaven. Live from this truth, and you will see doors open, rivers flow, and opportunities multiply. Live from this truth, and your very life will shine as proof that divine supply never fails. Beloved, hold this truth close. Let it be your anchor, your shield, your song. For when you know with certainty that God alone is the source of supply, you have stepped into a life where fear cannot live, where scarcity cannot remain, and where abundance flows without end. Beloved, words are the most powerful forces you carry within you. Before there was form, before there was light, before there was earth or sky, there was the Word. The universe itself was spoken into being. Let there be light, and there was light. That is no small lesson. If creation itself was birthed by words, then words are the seeds of everything that exists. Your life is no exception. Your words shape your days, mold your opportunities, and determine the wealth you either welcome or repel. It is not a matter of chance, nor is it merely about hard work, though diligence has its place. It is about the law that governs the unseen. What you continually speak, you continually create. Every sentence you utter carries energy, life, and spiritual power. You may believe you are merely describing your situation, but in truth you are writing tomorrow with your lips today. A person says, I am broke, and in speaking it, they seal that experience into their reality. Another says, I always struggle, nothing ever works for me, and their words carve out pathways of lack that they then walk upon. This is not superstition. It is law. Scripture says, life and death are in the power of the tongue, and those who love it will eat its fruit. You cannot sow words of poverty and reap a harvest of wealth. You cannot sow words of despair and expect to walk in joy. Every word is a seed, and every seed reproduces after its kind. The tragedy is that so many use this law against themselves, unconsciously speaking curses over their own supply. They complain about bills, they declare that money is scarce, they rehearse stories of failure, and they wonder why abundance seems far from them. But how can wealth come when the door is shut by constant words of lack? How can opportunity appear when the lips keep commanding it to stay away? The tongue is a rudder, small yet powerful, steering the entire ship of life. If you set the rudder toward poverty with your speech, that is where you will arrive, no matter how hard you row. But if you set it toward prosperity with words of faith, gratitude, and abundance, then prosperity must eventually appear, because the law cannot be broken. Beloved, understand this clearly. Words are not cheap. Words are not idle. Words are not mere sounds drifting into air. Every word you speak is recorded in spirit and returns to you multiplied. The moment you declare something with conviction, you release creative substance. That is why careless words are dangerous. To joke, I'm so broke, or I'll never get ahead, may feel light in the moment, but in the invisible realm, those words are written into your reality. The law does not discern humor or seriousness. It responds to vibration, and vibration responds to repetition. What you affirm continually becomes what you experience continually. Consider also the power of affirmation. The world often scoffs at it, dismissing it as childish or fanciful, but the wise understand that affirmation is alignment. To declare, I live in abundance, supply flows to me from all directions, I am favored and prospered, is not to pretend. It is to call forth what already exists in the invisible realm into the visible. Faith calls those things that are not as though they were, and by words they become. Affirmation is not wishful thinking, it is a creative decree. When you affirm consistently, your mind reshapes itself, your energy attracts corresponding experiences, and unseen doors begin to open. Words are the bridge between desire and manifestation. Some will say, but I spoke abundance and nothing happened. Beloved, do not confuse a seed with a harvest. When you speak a word, you plant. No farmer sows seed in the ground and digs it up tomorrow to check if it has sprouted. The farmer trusts the process, so too must you. Speak your words of abundance and hold them firm. Let no doubt uproot them. Let no fear choke them. Water them with gratitude. Shine the light of faith upon them daily. In due season they will bring forth. Patience is not delay, it is faith in action. There is also this truth. Words must be aligned with belief. You cannot declare wealth with your lips and cling to poverty in your heart. If your words say, I prosper, but your inner conversation whispers, I doubt it, I'm always behind, then your inner words will overpower your outer ones. Out of the abundance of the heart the mouth speaks, and so the true transformation begins with the words you continually feed into your own mind. Speak abundance until your heart believes it. Speak wealth until your imagination sees it. Speak prosperity until fear no longer argues. Your outer world will always mirror your inner dialogue, so choose that dialogue with intention. Beloved, let me tell you this: every wealthy person, whether knowingly or unknowingly, has harnessed the law of words. They may call it confidence, vision, or positive thinking, but beneath those terms lies the same principle. They speak possibility, they affirm their capacity, they declare doors open before they even knock. And because their words align with conviction, circumstances shape themselves to fulfill their decree. The difference between one who prospers and one who struggles often lies in the sentences they repeat daily. One says, I can. The other says, I can't. One says, there is always enough. The other says, there is never enough. And the law fulfills both, without partiality. So guard your tongue as you would guard treasure. Let no idle words of lack cross your lips. Refuse to join in conversations of poverty, where people compete in telling how hard life is, how money is scarce, how success is impossible. Do not agree with them. Silence is better than agreement with lack. If you must speak, let your words rise higher. Say, I trust in divine supply. Opportunities are always opening. Wealth flows to me in expected and unexpected ways. These are not just hopeful phrases. They are keys unlocking invisible gates. And when challenges appear, as they sometimes will, that is the most critical time to use words rightly. Do not let fear put sentences in your mouth. Do not declare, it's over, I'll never make it, I'm doomed. Instead, rise up in faith and declare, this too shall pass. My supply is secure, I will see provision even here. Your words in the storm determine whether you sink or rise. Many speak well when skies are clear, but their true power is revealed when clouds gather. Hold fast to affirmations of abundance in dark hours, and the light will break forth sooner than you think. Remember also that words must not only describe what is but declare what shall be. If you only speak of what your eyes see, you remain trapped in it. If you say, I have no money, my account is empty, you are only reinforcing the visible. But if you declare, I live in overflow, supply is on its way, doors are opening, you are speaking beyond sight, and sight must eventually catch up. Faith does not deny reality, it transforms it. By words, you call the unseen into manifestation. Let your lips be fountains of blessing, not wells of complaint. Bless your home, bless your finances, bless every coin and every opportunity. Say, this little I hold is multiplying even now. This door is leading to greater doors. This day is filled with favor. The more you bless, the more the law responds. Cursing shrinks, but blessing expands. Gratitude spoken aloud magnifies its power. To whisper, thank you for this abundance, thank you for this overflow, thank you for this constant provision, is to pour fuel on the fire of manifestation. There will always be voices telling you that words do not matter, that reality is hard and cannot be changed by speech. But remember, those same voices live bound by the reality their words created. They cannot see beyond their own declarations. Do not join them. You are not called to echo the limitations of the world. You are called to demonstrate the abundance of heaven. Stand apart. Speak higher. Declare bolder. Let your words be light in places of darkness. Beloved, never forget this eternal truth: your words create wealth or poverty. You are the prophet of your own life. Every day you prophesy your future with what you say. You do not need to wait for someone else to decree over you. You decree over yourself continually. Make your prophecies ones of abundance. Let your lips speak the language of wealth, not want. Let your daily confession be, I live in endless supply. I am guided to prosperity. I am blessed and I am a blessing. Repeat it until the atmosphere bends to your decree. What is yours by divine right is already moving toward you, but your words are the bridge it must cross. Do not tear down that bridge with fear, complaint, or doubt. Strengthen it daily with affirmations of truth. Wealth is not far from you, it is only a word away. Speak it and watch as doors swing open, as opportunities appear, as provision multiplies. Speak it and watch as your life reflects the abundance that was always waiting for your agreement. Beloved, live carefully, live intentionally, and above all, speak powerfully. The wealth you seek is waiting on your lips. Beloved, vision is the seed of every manifestation. Nothing appears in the outer world that has not first been formed in the inner world. Before a house is built, it exists as a sketch on paper, and before the sketch it exists in the imagination of the builder. Before a song is sung, it exists as a melody carried in the heart, and before the melody it exists as a whisper in the unseen. All of creation operates by this law: the invisible always precedes the visible. The outer world is a mirror of the inner world. What you see with your spiritual eye you will hold with your natural hand. Vision shapes reality. From the very beginning, the Creator demonstrated this law. He did not stumble into creation, nor did the universe emerge without form. First, there was vision. Let there be light. The vision of light was declared, and light came forth. Let the waters bring forth abundantly. The vision of abundance was declared, and the seas teemed with life. Let us make man in our image. The vision of humanity was spoken, and humanity was formed. Every word spoken by God was a vision crystallizing into reality. We are made in that image, endowed with the same power of creative vision. When we see with faith, when we imagine with conviction, when we declare with certainty, we participate in the very process of creation itself. Yet the world ignores this law. The world says, "I will believe it when I see it." But the truth is the reverse: see it. You will see it when you believe it. Faith is not blind, faith is visionary sight. It is the evidence of things not seen, the substance of things hoped for. When you hold a vision steady in your mind, refusing to let go of it regardless of circumstances, you are shaping the reality that will soon appear. The outer world bends to the inner image. The body conforms to the thoughts that dominate it. Relationships mirror the expectations we carry. Finances align with the vision we hold. Vision is the master key to wealth, health, joy, and peace. Consider the farmer. He does not walk into a barren field and say, "If I see a harvest, then I will sow seed." No, he sees the harvest in his mind first. He chooses the seed according to the harvest he envisions. He plants with faith in that vision, waters it, and waits patiently. For months, nothing is seen, but the farmer does not despair. His vision sustains him until the day comes when the earth yields its fruit. So it is with every aspect of life. What you envision, you sow into the soil of the unseen, and if you do not faint, you will reap. If you want to change your outer life, change the picture within. A person who continually sees themselves in lack will never escape it, no matter how hard they labor. They may earn money, but it will slip away, for their vision does not allow them to hold it. Another person may start with little, but if they see themselves prosperous, wise, and surrounded by opportunity, doors will open that align with their vision. The invisible picture is the magnet. You do not attract what you wish for, you attract what you see. What you truly believe is already yours. Vision shapes health. The body listens to the inner eye. A person who constantly pictures themselves frail, aging, and defeated will see their body conform to that expectation. Another who pictures themselves vibrant, strong, and whole sends signals of life through their being. The cells respond to the vision. Healing flows to the one who holds a picture of health and faith. Vision shapes relationships. The person who sees themselves always rejected, always abandoned, always unwanted, will unconsciously drive people away. But the one who sees themselves loved, honored, and cherished will magnetize relationships that match their vision. Vision shapes finances. The individual who sees money as scarce, as difficult to keep, will sabotage even good opportunities. But the one who envisions overflow, who imagines opportunities rushing toward them, who pictures their life as a channel of circulation, will experience reality bending to match that image. This is why it is written, "As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he." The heart here means the innermost vision, the picture you truly believe. You may speak one thing with your mouth, but if your inner vision contradicts it, the inner vision wins. That is why affirmation without inner alignment produces little. Words must be joined with vision. When you declare, "I live in abundance," but within you still see yourself struggling, there is division. But when your words and your vision unite, when you speak what you see and see what you speak, reality must obey. The challenge is that the world's appearances often contradict vision. Bills may be piled high, the body may feel weak, opportunities may seem closed. But this is where faith proves its strength. Faith does not deny appearances, faith overrides appearances. The outer world is but a reflection of yesterday's vision. Change the vision today, and tomorrow's reality will change. Do not bow to appearances, appearances are shadows. Vision is substance. Hold fast to the picture of abundance, health, and joy, even when everything around you whispers the opposite, for it is only a matter of time before the outer conforms to the inner. Many live without vision, drifting from circumstance to circumstance, reacting instead of creating. Without vision, people perish, not because life destroys them, but because they have no inner compass guiding their steps. When you lack vision, you accept whatever comes, no matter how poor, how limiting, how small. But when you carry vision, you become selective. You know what belongs in your life and what does not. You move with purpose, rejecting what contradicts your vision and embracing what aligns. Vision gives direction, energy, and persistence. A person without vision gives up easily, a person with vision endures, because they have already seen the end from the beginning. Your vision must be clear. Vague images create vague results. Saying, "I want a better life" is too formless. What does better look like? See it, feel it, imagine yourself in it. Write it plainly as the scripture commands, so that you may run with it. If you see yourself in a beautiful home, picture the walls, the colors, the atmosphere. If you see yourself in a thriving business, imagine the clients, the impact, the joy of serving. If you see yourself walking in health, imagine the energy in your body, the lightness in your steps, the clarity in your mind. The clearer the vision, the swifter the manifestation. Guard your vision fiercely. The world will try to plant images of fear, failure, and lack. Media is saturated with messages of limitation. People around you may speak doubt, telling you it is impossible. Do not let their words rewrite your vision. Keep your eyes fixed. Abraham was told to look at the stars and count them, for so would his descendants be. The vision was given to keep his faith alive. So you too must keep before your eyes the picture of what you are becoming. Place reminders around you. Speak your vision daily. Saturate your imagination with images of abundance. When doubt arises, replace it with the picture of fulfillment. Protect your inner garden, for from it all of life flows. Vision requires patience. A seed does not sprout overnight, though the harvest is certain. Too many abandon their vision too quickly, doubting because the manifestation has not yet appeared. But vision works beneath the surface before it appears above the ground. Do not uproot your dream because it has not yet blossomed. Stay faithful. The farmer does not dig up the seed to check if it is growing, he trusts the process. So must you. Vision shapes reality, but reality unfolds in divine timing. Trust that what you have seen is on its way. Trust that what you have imagined in faith is already accomplished in the unseen. And vision demands alignment. You cannot hold a picture of wealth while acting in poverty consciousness. You cannot imagine health while feeding your body neglect. You cannot envision love while speaking bitterness. Align your actions with your vision. Walk as if it were already true. Dress, speak, and carry yourself in harmony with the image you hold. When your actions align with your vision, you accelerate its appearance. The gap between inner and outer closes swiftly. Beloved, vision is not fantasy. Fantasy is fleeting and powerless, but vision held with faith is creative law. Vision is not daydreaming, it is spiritual sight. It is looking not at what is, but at what is becoming. The world ignores this, chasing after external things while neglecting the inner picture. But those who know live differently. They guard their imagination as treasure, they speak their vision as truth, they act in harmony with what they see, and inevitably their outer life shines with abundance. Today I call you to lift your inner eyes. What do you see for yourself? What picture fills your heart? Refuse to settle for shadows of lack and fear. Choose to see overflow, choose to see health, choose to see joy. Choose to see doors opening, opportunities multiplying, relationships thriving. Do not wait for the outer to change before you believe. Believe and the outer must change. Vision shapes reality. Hold fast to it, live by it, and in due time, you will stand in the very picture you once saw only within. And when you do, you will know that it was not the world that decided your fate, but your vision aligned with divine law. Beloved, there is a law written into the fabric of the universe, one that is often overlooked because human beings are eager, restless, and impatient. That law is the law of divine timing. Everything in creation moves in cycles, in rhythms, in appointed seasons. The sun rises not a moment too early and sets not a moment too late. The moon waxes and wanes in its own order. Seeds rest hidden beneath the soil until the exact day they are ready to break forth. The oceans obey their tides, the stars hold their paths, and not one of them strains or worries. They are guided by the same principle that guides your life: obedience to divine timing. And when you align with this truth, your results multiply beyond anything you could achieve by human effort alone. Too often, people rush ahead of their blessing. They believe that if they do more, push harder, hustle longer, then surely they will arrive at success. But in this striving, they are like someone tugging at the seed underground, trying to force it to sprout before its time. What happens when you dig up a seed too early? You destroy its potential. In the same way, when you move out of timing, when you try to grab what is not yet ready, you damage the harvest meant for you. Yet when you wait, when you trust, when you obey that still small voice that whispers, "Not yet," you place yourself in the flow of perfect timing, and your harvest arrives with power, beauty, and multiplication. Divine timing is not delay for the sake of delay. It is preparation. A child is not born the day after conception. The womb must carry it, nourish it, and protect it until it is ready for life outside. So too, your blessings, your opportunities, your wealth, your breakthroughs, they are conceived in the invisible first. They grow in silence. And if you rush the process, you cripple the miracle. When you obey divine timing, you honor the unseen process that is making you, shaping you, and preparing you to carry the weight of what is coming. Many are restless because they see others advancing. They look at someone else's harvest and say, "Why not me? Why am I still waiting?" But beloved, comparison blinds you to your own season. The apple tree blossoms in spring, while the orange tree bears in autumn. Neither is late, neither is early, both are perfect in their appointed time. Your life has its own season, and no one else's calendar can dictate it. The world urges you to run faster, to force doors open, to live in constant hurry, but divine wealth is not built in panic, it is built in rhythm. When you learn to obey divine timing, something extraordinary happens. Your results are multiplied. Think of a fisherman casting his net at the wrong time of day. He may labor all night and catch nothing. But if he listens to the divine instruction, cast your net on the right side, then in one moment he hauls in more fish than he can handle. What changed? Not his skill, not his boat, not his effort. The only change was alignment with timing. That is the difference between striving and multiplying. One act in divine timing outweighs 1,000 acts done in fleshly haste. Divine timing teaches you patience, but not passive patience. It is not the patience of sitting idle with folded hands. It is the patience of preparation, of faith, of readiness. When a farmer waits for rain, he does not do nothing. He prepares the soil, removes the weeds, tends the plants. He knows the rain will come, but he must be ready to receive it. So too must you live. Waiting is not wasted time. Waiting is investing in readiness so that when the moment comes, you are not scrambling but stepping boldly into prepared opportunity. You see, results multiply because timing aligns your effort with heaven's power. Imagine trying to push a heavy door open against the wind. It resists you, drains you, frustrates you. But when you wait until the wind shifts, when you move with the force of spirit, the door swings open with ease. Many are exhausted not because they lack strength, but because they are pushing against timing. They are trying to force open doors that are meant to open automatically at the right moment. When you wait and obey, you conserve your strength and see doors open by themselves, and you walk through as if on wings. There is also a protection in timing. Many blessings that look attractive are dangerous if received too soon. Money in the hands of someone unprepared can be destruction. Success without maturity can breed pride and downfall. Influence without wisdom can corrupt. This is why the divine sometimes withholds until you are able to carry the weight without breaking. It is not denial, it is mercy, it is not rejection, it is training. When the time is right, what is meant for you will come swiftly, and nothing can stop it. Until then, obedience to timing keeps you safe from blessings that would otherwise crush you. The multiplication comes not only in results but in peace. When you align with timing, anxiety ceases. You stop running after opportunities, and instead, you attract them. You stop grasping for supply, and instead it flows toward you. The waiting season builds trust, and the trust builds testimony. You begin to see that every closed door was protection, every delay was preparation, every "not yet" was a "greater is coming." And when the appointed time arrives, the manifestation is so abundant, so overflowing that it redeems all the waiting in a single moment. Think of Joseph, sold into slavery, imprisoned, forgotten. For years it looked like his dreams were lies. But when the time came, he was lifted in one day from the prison to the palace. Timing multiplied his results. If he had been released earlier, he might have returned home quietly unnoticed. But by waiting, by being prepared in silence, when the door opened, it catapulted him to the highest position in the land. Divine timing does not simply give you what you asked for, it multiplies it beyond what you imagined. Your role is obedience. Obedience requires trust. Trust requires surrender. To obey timing, you must surrender your own impatience, your own calendar, your own frantic need to control. You must say, "Not my timing, but yours. Not my plan, but yours. Not my rush, but your rhythm." This surrender is not weakness, it is power. Because when you surrender, you enter into partnership with divine order. You stop fighting against the current and start flowing with it. And when you flow with it, you travel farther with less effort. Beloved, the greatest results of your life will not come from what you force, but from what you obey. The greatest wealth, the greatest opportunities, the greatest breakthroughs will arrive not when you claw for them, but when you align with their appointed hour. Everything under heaven has a time. There is a time to sow, a time to reap, a time to be hidden, a time to be revealed. When you obey that order, your results multiply in ways no human effort could achieve. So do not despise the waiting. Do not curse the silence. Do not fear the delay. All things are working together for your good. Your season is coming. Your harvest is ripening. Your doors are being prepared. What is meant for you cannot miss you when you are in alignment. Stay faithful, stay prepared, stay grateful, and when the time arrives, step boldly, for obedience to divine timing multiplies results beyond measure. Gratitude is a magnet for wealth, and to understand this truth is to hold the key that unlocks the gates of abundance. Gratitude is more than a polite word or a passing gesture. It is a spiritual vibration that aligns the soul with the eternal source of supply. When a heart beats with thanksgiving, it sends forth a signal into the invisible that calls provision out of the unseen into the seen. Gratitude transforms the smallest seed into a forest, the tiniest stream into a river, and the faintest opportunity into a breakthrough. Lack cannot stay in the presence of gratitude, for gratitude opens the door to increase, just as surely as the rising of the sun ends the night. Most people believe wealth comes only through striving labor, or the accumulation of possessions, yet there are countless examples of those who labored without ever experiencing satisfaction. They earned much but lived in emptiness because they never learned to bless what they had. Wealth is not merely measured in numbers but in the fullness of life, and gratitude is the divine activator of that fullness. A person may hold millions but still feel poverty if gratitude is absent, for without gratitude, nothing ever feels enough. But another may hold little in hand yet live in such deep thanksgiving that doors keep opening, provision keeps flowing, and joy never leaves. Gratitude multiplies what it touches, because it acknowledges the true source. When you give thanks, you shift your eyes away from lack and onto supply. The world teaches to focus on what is missing, on the gaps, on the unfulfilled desires. But focusing on lack creates more lack, for what you dwell upon expands. Gratitude shifts your focus toward what is already present, no matter how small, and in blessing it, you cause it to grow. It is as though you water the seed with thanksgiving, and the soil of life cannot resist bringing forth a harvest. When the Israelites stood before manna in the wilderness, they were sustained daily, yet many complained, and in their complaint they missed the abundance hidden in the provision. Complaint blinds the eyes to blessing, but gratitude sharpens vision until opportunities unseen become visible. Think of a person who receives a small amount of money and sighs, "This is not enough, I needed more." That sigh is a rejection of supply. But another receives the same amount, lifts it up with joy, and declares, "This is evidence that my provision flows, and I give thanks for the increase already on its way." That declaration multiplies the seed. Gratitude takes the little and announces, "This is more than enough," and suddenly more arrives to match the vibration. It is a law as sure as gravity. What you thank increases, what you despise diminishes. The world calls it coincidence, but divine law calls it order. Gratitude is also a shield. It protects the mind from the poison of envy, the chains of fear, and the weight of despair. A grateful heart cannot envy, because it already feels rich. A grateful mind cannot fear lack, because it knows supply is ever present. Gratitude transforms waiting into preparation, for instead of complaining about delay, it gives thanks for what is unseen. Confident it is on the way. Many prayers remain unanswered not because the answer is denied, but because the heart that prays continues to complain. Gratitude turns prayer into power, because it prays as though the answer is already delivered. "Thank you for the provision," says the grateful soul, even before the evidence appears, and that thanksgiving draws the manifestation closer. Gratitude is magnetic, and magnets draw what is like them. If your heart beats with complaint, you attract more reasons to complain. If your heart radiates gratitude, you attract more reasons to give thanks. Consider two individuals in the same circumstance. One grumbles about the smallness of his home, the wear of his clothes, the insufficiency of his income. The other stands in the same home and says, "I bless these walls, for they shelter me. I bless these clothes, for they cover me. I bless this income, for it is evidence that supply flows and more is on its way." Who do you think will see increase? It will not be the one who curses his portion, for cursing closes the gate. It will be the one who blesses his portion, for blessing multiplies the flow. Gratitude changes energy. It changes atmosphere. Walk into a room filled with complaint, and you will feel heaviness. Walk into a room filled with gratitude, and you will feel lightness and joy. Wealth moves toward lightness. Opportunities gravitate to joy. Even people prefer to bless and partner with those who radiate thankfulness, not bitterness. Gratitude not only draws unseen supply, it also attracts favor in the visible. Doors open for the grateful because people are lifted by their presence. Gratitude makes you magnetic in both the spiritual and the natural. Now understand this: gratitude is not only for what has already arrived. That is the beginner's form of thanksgiving. The deeper practice is to give thanks before you see the manifestation. To say, "Thank you for the abundance on its way. Thank you for the opportunities already unfolding. Thank you for the doors opening though they are not yet visible." This is the faith form of gratitude, and it is the most powerful. Anyone can give thanks when their hands are full. The master of wealth is the one who gives thanks when their hands appear empty, yet their spirit knows fullness is already theirs. This is what causes manifestation to accelerate, because heaven responds to faith and faith speaks in gratitude. Gratitude must also flow outward in generosity. When you are thankful, you naturally desire to share, and in sharing, you complete the circle of circulation. A grateful heart does not hoard, it releases. Gratitude says, "I have enough to give, and I trust more will flow," and indeed, more does flow. The more you give with thanksgiving, the more you receive with thanksgiving, until your life is a constant rhythm of inflow and outflow, like the beating of a healthy heart. A heart that only receives and never gives grows sick, a life that only takes and never blesses grows stagnant. Gratitude keeps the circulation alive. Gratitude also transforms perspective in times of trial. When challenges arise, the ungrateful heart says, "This is the end, I am doomed, nothing good can come of this." But the grateful heart says, "Even in this, there is good. Even here, supply is working. Even in delay, preparation is taking place." Gratitude does not deny difficulty, it redefines it. It sees the seed of blessing hidden within the challenge. And in recognizing it, the grateful heart draws the blessing out. This is why some people rise stronger after trials while others remain broken. Gratitude is the difference. When you practice gratitude daily, you reprogram your entire being to expect abundance. Each morning, when you rise and give thanks for breath, for life, for the bed you slept in, for the food you will eat, for the opportunities awaiting you, you set the tone of your day. Each night, when you close your eyes with thanksgiving for the smallest joys, the simplest provisions, and the unseen blessings still unfolding, you plant seeds for tomorrow's harvest. Life itself bends toward the grateful, because gratitude is harmony with divine order. Gratitude is wealth itself. Many chase riches thinking it will bring joy, yet without gratitude, riches never satisfy. The eyes of the ungrateful are always hungry, never filled. They achieve one goal and immediately complain about the next thing missing. But gratitude makes every step feel like success. Gratitude allows you to enjoy the journey as much as the destination. This is why some people appear rich, though their possessions are few. They carry themselves in thankfulness, and their aura shines with wealth. Others may own much but look impoverished, because gratitude is absent. Gratitude is what makes wealth real, and without it, wealth is only numbers on paper. Therefore, cultivate gratitude deliberately. Speak it aloud. Write it down. Let no day pass without thanksgiving. Thank God for supply. Thank life for opportunity. Thank even the unseen for what is still coming. When fear whispers lack, answer with gratitude. When envy tempts you to compare, silence it with gratitude. When complaint rises, replace it with thanksgiving. Gratitude is not just a reaction, it is a decision, a discipline, and a declaration. And the more you declare it, the more you draw increase. Gratitude is not weak, it is powerful. It is the key that unlocks treasures hidden from the complaining, the ungrateful, and the fearful. Gratitude is a magnet for wealth, and the one who lives in gratitude will never lack, for every moment of thanksgiving plants a seed, and every seed brings forth after its kind. Bless what you have, and it will multiply. Thank the unseen, and it will appear. Give thanks without ceasing, and your life will overflow with supply. Wealth is not found in striving, nor in hoarding, nor in constant worry. Wealth is found in the vibration of gratitude, for gratitude aligns you with the eternal source that never runs dry. So walk in gratitude, speak in gratitude, breathe in gratitude, and let your life be one unbroken song of thanksgiving. As you do, you will discover that doors open without effort, opportunities find you without strain, and provision flows without end. For gratitude is the magnet, and wealth is the answer to its call. Beloved, there is a secret written into the very structure of life, a law so simple and yet so profound that those who live by it rise into joy and overflow, while those who ignore it remain trapped in cycles of fear, lack, and limitation. That secret is generosity. Generosity is not just a noble act or a moral choice, it is a spiritual law that governs increase. To give is not to lose, it is to plant, to circulate, to engage with the eternal rhythm of abundance. When you give, you set into motion an invisible current that cannot fail to return to you. This is why it is said, "Give, and it shall be given unto you. Good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over." These words are not poetry, they are law. The world has trained people to think that holding tightly is the way to keep what they have, but clinging is the surest way to choke the flow of life. Look at nature itself. Rivers flow, rain falls, trees release their fruit, seeds scatter to the wind, and in this circulation the earth remains fruitful. If the rivers refuse to flow, the waters would stagnate. If the trees refuse to release their fruit, new growth would cease. If the clouds refuse to pour out rain, the ground would wither. So it is with wealth. Money, like water, must move. To hoard it in fear is to cut off its circulation, but to release it in faith is to multiply it. Generosity is not the loss of wealth, it is the lifeblood of wealth. When you give, you affirm that you are not bound by appearances. You may see a small balance in your account, a small sum in your hand, but when you choose to give joyfully, you declare that your source is not the number in front of you. Your source is infinite, and therefore you can afford to release, because more is already on the way. Generosity is an act of faith, and faith is always rewarded. The fearful say, "I cannot give, for I do not have enough." But the generous say, "I give, because I live in endless supply." And the very act of giving opens new channels for increase. What leaves your hand in faith never leaves your life. It circles back, expanded, multiplied, enriched. Think of the farmer. If he clutched his seeds tightly, saying, "I must not lose these, they are all I have," his fields would remain empty and his fear would prove true. But when he scatters them into the soil, it looks as though he has lost them, yet in truth he has set them free to become more. Weeks later, he reaps a harvest far greater than what he released. This is the law of return. Generosity is sowing, and what you sow you must reap. Sow fear, reap limitation. Sow greed, reap emptiness. Sow generosity, reap abundance. It is not the size of the gift that activates the law, but the spirit behind it. Some give a large amount but with resentment or pride, and they see little return. Others give a small amount but with pure joy, love, and faith, and the multiplication is astonishing. The law responds not to the number but to the vibration. A cheerful giver is a magnet for miracles. To give grudgingly is to give the shell without the seed. To give with gladness is to plant a seed that must grow. Generosity is also protection. When you give, you place your finances under divine law, beyond the reach of theft, loss, or decay. What you circulate in faith cannot be stolen, for it is sealed in spiritual law. Many people spend their lives trying to protect wealth by holding on tightly, only to watch it slip away through expenses, crises, or losses they never anticipated. Yet those who circulate freely always seem to have more, because what they give returns in ways they cannot predict. The channel of return may not be the same as the channel of giving, but the return is certain. You may give to one person and reap through another. You may sow in one season and reap in another, but the law cannot fail. The fearful often ask, "What if I give and receive nothing back?" That question arises only because they are looking at life through human calculation. Divine law does not work by chance, it works by certainty. Just as surely as gravity never fails, generosity never fails. The harvest may not come in the way you expect, but it will come in the way you need. Sometimes it returns as money, sometimes as opportunities, sometimes as protection from loss, sometimes as favor, sometimes as healing in the body or peace in the mind. The law of return operates in dimensions beyond the physical. You may give financially and find that you are repaid with health that money could not buy. You may give kindness and find that doors open in places you never thought possible. Nothing given in love is ever lost. Consider this: when you give, you mirror the nature of the divine. The Creator is endless giver, of life, breath, beauty, and abundance. To withhold is to step out of alignment with that nature. To give is to flow with it. And when you flow with it, you are carried by its current into ever greater blessings. Giving is not just a financial act, it is a spiritual alignment. It brings you into harmony with the eternal truth that supply is unlimited. When you give, you say with your actions what your words may not yet dare to speak. I trust the source. I trust that more is always coming. I trust that I live in an abundant universe. That trust is magnetic, and it cannot be ignored by the law of return. The world ignores this because the world is trained to fear. People are taught to fight, to hoard, to compete, to think that only by taking can they survive. But divine law says the opposite: by giving you live. By releasing you increase. By pouring out you are filled. The hand that is closed can neither release nor receive, but the hand that is open is always full. Those who clutch in fear are always in want, because fear creates walls around them. Those who give freely are always in plenty, because generosity tears down walls and allows the flow to enter. You may ask, how much should I give? The answer is simple: give what your heart leads you to give, and give with joy. It may be a coin, it may be a sum, it may be time, it may be kindness, it may be a word of encouragement, it may be resources, it may be forgiveness. Generosity is not limited to money. It is the giving of any good thing. The law of return operates on all forms of giving. Release kindness will find its way back to you. Release encouragement, and you will be lifted when you need it most. Release money, and money will circle back multiplied. There is no such thing as wasted giving. Every seed knows how to find its harvest. But beware, giving must be free from calculation. If you give only to manipulate a return, you have stepped out of the spirit of generosity. The law of return does not respond to manipulation, it responds to faith. Give because you know it is who you are, because it is joy to give, because it reflects abundance. Then, without effort, the return will manifest. You cannot outgive the source. The more you release, the more you prove yourself trustworthy, and the more the universe entrusts to you. There is also a secret within the secret: the return is often greater than the gift. This is why it is called pressed down, shaken together, and running over. What you sow may look small, but what you reap will overflow. A small seed grows into a tree, a single coin into unexpected wealth, a single act of kindness into a network of favor. You are not meant to reap one for one, you are meant to reap one for many. That is the generosity of divine law, it always multiplies. Let no one deceive you. Scarcity is an illusion sustained by fear. Generosity shatters that illusion. Each time you give, you declare war on lack. Each time you give, you break the lie that you do not have enough. Each time you give, you rise higher in the vibration of abundance. You train your mind to see differently, your spirit to trust more deeply, and your life to flow more freely. This is why the generous are always radiant. Their faces shine with peace, their lives flow with ease because they know they cannot run out. They are connected to the infinite, and every act of giving proves it. So I say to you, never hold back generosity out of fear. If you have little, give from the little, and it will grow. If you have much, give from the much, and it will multiply. If you are weary, give encouragement, and strength will return to you. If you feel alone, give companionship, and love will surround you. Whatever you think you lack, give it, and you will find it rushing back multiplied. This is the paradox the world cannot understand, but those who live it know the fastest way to abundance is to give. Remember, beloved, what leaves your hand in faith never leaves your life. It travels, it circulates, it multiplies, and it returns. Generosity is the law of return in motion, and the one who lives by it will never be empty. You are not meant to struggle, to hoard, to fear. You are meant to give freely, receive abundantly, and walk in the overflow of divine supply. Trust this law, live this law, and watch as your life becomes a testimony of unshakable, unstoppable abundance. Faith is heaven's currency. Just as coins and bills move transactions in earthly markets, faith moves transactions in the spiritual economy. Without money, many people feel powerless in the world system. Without faith, people feel powerless in the divine system. Yet money is temporary, unstable, and subject to inflation, corruption, and loss. Faith, however, is eternal, incorruptible, and cannot be devalued. Faith buys what no earthly currency can touch. It secures provision, opens doors, shifts circumstances, and calls into being that which does not yet exist. The world looks at faith and mocks it as empty hope, but those who live by it know that faith is the most powerful purchasing power in the universe. When you understand faith as heaven's currency, your relationship with life changes. You stop measuring possibilities by what is in your bank account and begin measuring them by what is in your heart. You stop bowing to appearances, stop trembling at bills, stop worrying about who holds your paycheck, because you know that faith can move what money cannot. Scripture tells us that without faith it is impossible to please God, for those who come to Him must believe that He exists and that He rewards those who diligently seek Him. In other words, faith is the exchange medium between the invisible and the visible. It is not wishful thinking, it is substance. It is the evidence of things not seen, and evidence is a legal term. It proves a case. Faith is the receipt that proves your order in heaven has already been processed, even if it has not yet been delivered to your doorstep. Many fail because they are trying to buy the promises of heaven with fear, doubt, or despair. But heaven does not recognize those as currency. Fear spends nothing, worry purchases nothing, doubt cancels transactions already in motion. Faith alone holds value in the divine marketplace. It is faith that says, though my pockets are empty, I declare my cup runs over. It is faith that stands before an empty cupboard and says, I bless this meal, for there is always more where this came from. It is faith that looks at the stack of bills and says, all my needs are met according to divine riches and glory. Faith does not wait until the supply is visible to rejoice. It rejoices because the supply is certain. The moment you truly believe, the supply is already yours, though the channels through which it will arrive are still being prepared. The world teaches dependence on money, credit, and connections. But money fails, credit crumbles, connections betray. Faith never fails. Faith does not rely on the strength of men but on the unshakable promise of God. Faith anchors you in a truth higher than circumstance. It is the power that carried Abraham when he left everything familiar to walk toward a land he had never seen. It is the power that kept Joseph steady in prison until he rose to the palace. It is the power that fed Elijah by ravens in famine and multiplied oil in a widow's jar. Faith has always been the true wealth of the righteous. Those who possess it can never be poor, even when the world calls them empty. Faith is not passive, it is active expectation. It speaks, acts, and walks as though the promise is already fulfilled. Imagine walking into a store with no cash, no card, and no digital wallet. You could look at what you desire, long for it, even cry over it, but without currency, you cannot purchase it. Now imagine entering heaven's storehouse, filled with wisdom, supply, healing, opportunity, and favor. Standing in awe, you see every good and perfect gift, but only faith allows you to claim it as yours. Faith is your purchasing power in the unseen. Without it, you only admire. With it, you acquire. This is why your words matter. Words are the coins of faith. Every declaration in belief is like handing over currency for what you desire. When you say, I am blessed, I live in abundance, my supply never fails, you are not lying to yourself, you are spending heaven's currency. The cashier does not ask if you feel rich, he only takes your money. Heaven does not ask if you feel blessed, it responds to the faith you release. Doubt is counterfeit currency, and heaven cannot honor it. You cannot pay with counterfeit in the world and expect to walk out with goods, nor can you pay with doubt in the spirit and expect manifestation. Faith is authentic, it is stamped with divine approval. Faith also works through action. Just as you must hand over physical money to complete an earthly purchase, you must act in faith to complete a spiritual one. If you believe provision is coming, you walk as though it is already here. You bless your table as though it is already full. You prepare for opportunity as though it is already knocking. You give thanks as though the supply has already arrived. These actions are not delusion. They are spiritual transactions. They demonstrate that you trust the unseen reality more than the seen circumstance. And heaven honors such boldness with manifestation. The enemy of faith is fear. Fear is the great thief of spiritual wealth. Just as a thief steals money from pockets, fear steals faith from hearts. Fear says, what if it doesn't work? What if nothing comes? What if I am left alone? But faith answers, even if I cannot see it, I know it is done. Even if channels close, supply will find another way. Even if men fail me, God never fails. Fear tries to bankrupt you spiritually, but faith always restores your balance. You must guard your heart against fear, for fear spends your energy while buying you nothing. Faith multiplies your energy and buys you everything promised. The beautiful thing about faith is that it does not require much to move mountains. Even a mustard seed of faith, the smallest unit of currency in heaven's economy, is enough to shift immovable obstacles. You do not need perfect faith, flawless faith, or endless faith. You need living faith. One mustard seed is enough to break a cycle of lack, to heal what was broken, to open what was shut, to draw supply from unexpected places. Do not despise the small beginnings of your faith. Spend it boldly. Use it daily. For as you use it, it multiplies. Faith grows in circulation. It is never meant to be hoarded or hidden. It is meant to be exercised, spoken, and spent until it produces the harvest you need. Some wonder why their prayers go unanswered. They pray with their lips but cancel with their hearts. They ask for abundance but expect lack. They declare health but fear sickness. They bless increase but imagine decline. Faith cannot operate in a double-minded vessel. Just as a cashier cannot accept two conflicting currencies in one transaction, heaven does not process mixed signals. You must decide which currency you will use: of fear or faith, doubt or trust, lack or abundance. Once you choose faith and remain steady, the outcome is inevitable. Faith also requires patience, for not every transaction is instant. Some promises arrive as quickly as lightning, others require the preparation of channels, the shifting of circumstances, or the unfolding of divine timing. Just because the manifestation is delayed does not mean the transaction has failed. When you place an order with your faith, heaven begins the process immediately. Delivery may take time, but the guarantee is certain. The faithful do not abandon their position when the wait grows long. They hold the receipt of faith in their hands, rejoicing as though the package has already arrived. This joy is not madness, it is wisdom, for they know heaven cannot default. Faith also works in generosity. When you give, you do not deplete yourself, you increase your faith account. Each gift is a deposit into the law of return. The world says, hold on tightly or you will lose. But faith says, give freely, for the more I circulate, the more will return. Faith is not stingy. Faith understands that the supply is endless and that giving only proves your trust in the eternal source. Generosity without faith can feel painful, but generosity with faith feels joyful, because you know it is only a matter of time before multiplied blessings come back to you. Faith is heaven's currency, and like any currency, it grows in value the more you use it. A person who hides their money under a mattress sees no interest, no increase, no expansion. But the one who circulates, invests, and trusts the system sees growth. In the same way, those who hoard faith in silence, who never speak, never act, never sow, see little fruit. But those who spend their faith, who declare boldly, who step forward, who act as if the promise is already real, see multiplication beyond measure. Faith grows in motion. So how do you increase your supply of this currency? By hearing and believing truth. Faith comes by hearing, and hearing by the word of God. Every time you meditate on divine promises, you are minting new coins of faith in your spirit. Every time you recall past victories, you are increasing your spiritual account. Every time you surround yourself with testimonies, affirmations, and words of life, you are filling your pockets with fresh faith. But beware of counterfeit voices, for doubt and negativity mint counterfeit bills that look real but hold no value in the heavenly economy. Guard your ears, guard your eyes, and guard your heart, for they are the treasury of your faith. Beloved, when you grasp this truth, you realize you are never broke, no matter what your wallet says. You may not have $1 in your hand, but if you have faith in your heart, you carry heaven's wealth. You may not see a door open before you, but if you have faith, you hold the master key. You may not know how provision will arrive, but if you have faith, it is already on its way. Faith is not a backup plan, it is the only plan that never fails. The world may rise and fall, economies may crash and recover, but faith never loses its value. It is the only currency accepted in every realm on earth and in heaven. Therefore, live by faith, spend it boldly, declare it loudly, walk in it daily. Refuse to trade it for fear, doubt, or despair. Let your faith be strong enough to speak against lack, firm enough to stand against fear, joyful enough to sing in waiting, and generous enough to give in confidence. For with faith as your currency, you are already wealthy beyond measure, already supplied beyond need, already victorious beyond battle. Faith is heaven's currency, and with it, you can never be bankrupt. A loved, true wealth is not fragile, nor is it uncertain, nor can it be stolen or withheld from the one who knows its source. What is yours by divine right is already marked with your name, sealed by eternal law, and no person, no system, no delay, no injustice has the power to keep it from reaching you. The treasures of spirit are not subject to the fears of men, nor the fluctuations of economies, nor the greed of the powerful. They are secure in a higher order that governs all life. Wealth that comes from manipulation, deceit, or fear is fleeting, but wealth rooted in divine truth is everlasting. It cannot be stolen because it is not held in human hands. It cannot be withheld because it flows by eternal decree. The world believes that wealth is a competition, that for one to gain, another must lose, that prosperity is limited and fragile, always in danger of being taken away. But this is the great illusion. The divine storehouse is infinite. The river of supply has no end. When you understand that wealth is a spiritual law, you no longer tremble at appearances. If someone takes what is yours in the natural, know that it cannot diminish what belongs to you in the spirit. If one door closes, another must open. If one channel dries up, a new one will spring forth. Your wealth is not confined to people or institutions. It is bound to spirit, and spirit never fails. Think of the sun. No thief can steal the sunlight. No one can withhold the morning from rising. Even if clouds cover the sky, the sun still shines untouched, unchanged, unstoppable. So it is with divine wealth. Appearances may seem dark, but supply still flows. Circumstances may seem blocked, but provision is still on its way. What is yours cannot be taken, for it exists beyond reach of human interference. When you know this truth, fear loses its power. Fear of theft, fear of loss, fear of being overlooked, fear of scarcity. All of these dissolve in the light of certainty. You no longer clutch your possessions in anxiety, for you understand that even if one thing is lost, greater will replace it. You no longer envy another's prosperity, for you know that their blessing does not reduce yours. You no longer despair when doors shut, for you know that divine order always prepares a better way. True wealth is not stored in banks, though banks may hold a portion of it. True wealth is not in property, though property may express it. True wealth is not in investments, though investments may channel it. True wealth resides in the unseen law of abundance, written into the universe by the Creator himself. That law declares as long as life exists, provision exists. As long as spirit breathes, supply flows. As long as faith speaks, manifestation answers. No thief can break into this law, no system can shut it down, no force can overthrow it. The world may say, what if others cheat me? What if I am robbed? What if I lose my position? What if I am cut off from resources? But the answer is this: what is truly yours cannot be stolen. If money is stolen from your hand, it will return to you in another form through another channel, multiplied beyond what was taken. If someone cheats you, the law of divine justice restores you, sometimes silently, sometimes openly, but always certainly. If you lose a position, it is only to clear the way for a higher position. If resources are cut off, a new river must emerge. The invisible order cannot be broken. Consider the seasons. No one fears that winter will steal spring, or that night will withhold the dawn. They know that the cycles are sure. So it is with your wealth. It may seem hidden in one season, but it must appear in the next. It may look delayed, but delay is not denial. What is set apart for you is moving toward you, even if you cannot yet see the path. Many live as though wealth were fragile glass, easily shattered, easily lost, easily stolen. They grasp tightly, they guard nervously, they withhold fearfully, and in doing so, they actually block the flow. Wealth is not meant to be grasped but trusted. Not meant to be hoarded but circulated. Not meant to be clung to in fear but received with peace. The one who trusts the law of divine supply knows that even if the cup is emptied, the fountain will fill it again. Do not mistake possession for wealth. Possessions can be stolen, but wealth cannot. Wealth is the power to attract, to create, to multiply, to manifest. A thief may take a bag of gold, but if the one who held it is aligned with spirit, more gold must return to him. Possessions may come and go, but true wealth is eternal. It is the law of supply anchored in divine order. This is why a person aligned with abundance can lose everything and yet rebuild with greater speed and strength than before. Their wealth is not in what they hold but in what they are connected to. True wealth cannot be withheld because it is not given by men, it is released by spirit. No boss, no government, no system, no relative, no partner can block what is ordained for you. They may resist for a time, but divine law overrules resistance. What is yours must find you. It may come through unexpected channels, through strangers, through sudden opportunities, through ideas, through miracles, but it must come. The hand of spirit moves in ways beyond human calculation. When you align with this truth, you live without anxiety. You release envy because another's gain is not your loss. You release fear because no one can block your supply. You release doubt because delay is only divine arrangement. You walk in peace, knowing that your portion is secure. And this peace itself becomes a magnet for greater wealth, because faith draws supply and fear repels it. Think of a farmer. He does not fear that another man can steal his harvest by reaping in his field. He knows that what is sown will be his to gather in due season. He does not live in fear that the soil will suddenly withhold its increase. He trusts the process, so it is with your wealth. What you have spoken in faith, what you have believed in spirit, what you have aligned yourself to by vision, must appear. The law is as sure as the law of seed time and harvest. When circumstances try to tell you that you have been robbed, remember that appearances lie. You cannot be robbed of what is eternal. When situations try to convince you that your blessing has been delayed too long, remember that divine timing is perfect. When voices try to say, "It is too late, the opportunity is gone, the wealth has passed to another," remember this: what is yours cannot go to another, and what goes to another was never yours. Divine order never misdelivers. Beloved, live with this assurance: true wealth cannot be stolen or withheld. Anchor yourself in this truth until fear no longer shakes you, until appearances no longer deceive you, until envy no longer tempts you. Declare it daily, breathe it deeply, walk in it boldly. Let no loss trouble you, for loss is only the clearing of the way for greater gain. Let no delay discourage you, for delay is only the gestation of a greater manifestation. Let no injustice wound you, for justice is woven into the fabric of divine law, and it cannot fail to restore you. You are not poor, you are not empty, you are not abandoned. You are the heir of divine abundance, the steward of an inexhaustible supply, the child of a creator whose storehouses overflow. What is yours by right is secured, untouchable, unmovable, unshakable. No thief can break through and steal it. No hand can hold it back, no force can keep it from you. Trust this, live this, declare this, and you will see with your own eyes that wealth is not fragile but eternal, not limited but infinite, not uncertain but guaranteed by spirit itself. Beloved, the world has made a great error. It has told you that wealth is man's creation, that it is the invention of systems, the design of governments, the product of banks, corporations, and financial strategies. But this is not the truth. Wealth is not born of men's hands. Wealth is a spiritual law, a principle woven into the very fabric of creation, and no man, no institution, no economy, no circumstance can erase or overturn it. What God establishes cannot be undone, and what He ordains flows endlessly, unshaken by appearances. When you look at creation, you see this truth shining in plain sight. The rivers do not beg to flow. The trees do not plead to bear fruit. The sun does not struggle to rise each morning, nor does the moon wrestle to shine at night. All of nature operates under divine law, effortlessly, ceaselessly, abundantly. The fields grow in their season, the rains water the earth, and the oceans are filled with creatures beyond number. Wealth, then, is not an artificial construct. It is the natural state of divine order. It is the overflow of a God who lacks nothing and withholds nothing good from His creation. Lack, on the other hand, is not a law but a lie. It is a distortion, a false appearance, the shadow that tries to conceal the light of truth. The problem is that mankind has forgotten the law and traded it for illusions. People believe wealth comes from endless labor, from shrewd calculations, from chance, from the manipulation of others, or from systems built by the powerful. They spend their days in fear that these systems will collapse, that the channels will dry up, that the means they depend on will be taken away. Yet those who understand the spiritual law know that supply cannot fail, for it was never dependent on man to begin with. A river may change its course, but the source that feeds it still flows. In the same way, a job may end, an investment may crumble, a business may falter, but the law of supply is untouched, waiting to open a new channel. Consider the birds of the air. They do not plant, harvest, or store in barns, yet they are fed each day. Not because they labor according to human systems, but because the law of provision is built into creation itself. If God sustains the sparrow, how much more will He sustain the one who is made in His image? Yet people look at their empty wallets, their unpaid bills, their dwindling accounts, and they say, "There is not enough." They speak lack, they fear lack, they bow before lack as though it were master. But lack is not master. Wealth is the law. Abundance is the truth. Overflow is the natural order. And when you align yourself with this truth, the visible world must bend to the invisible law. Wealth is a spiritual law, and like all spiritual laws, it operates with certainty. Just as the law of gravity pulls downward without fail, just as the law of sowing and reaping brings harvest after planting, so too the law of wealth ensures that provision flows where faith aligns. This is why affirmations, declarations, and visions are so powerful. They do not create abundance, for abundance already exists. Rather, they align you with the law that has always been present. When you declare, "My supply is endless, my channels are many, I live in divine abundance," you are stepping into harmony with truth. When you say, I never have enough, I am always struggling, nothing ever works for me, you are stepping into discord with truth. The law itself does not change, but your experience of it does, depending on your alignment. Man did not invent wealth, but man often blocks it. Fear, doubt, greed, resentment, and negative speech are like stones placed in the river of supply, damming the flow. Yet the moment you release these blocks, the river rushes again. Gratitude, generosity, faith, and obedience remove every obstruction and allow the current of wealth to move freely. This is why the great teachers of faith always pointed back to trust in God rather than in appearances. Appearances shift like shadows, but the law of supply is unshaken. When you understand that wealth is spiritual law, you stop chasing, you stop competing, you stop striving in desperation. The world teaches you to run faster, work harder, fight for scraps, fear your neighbor, and hoard what little you think you have. But the law teaches you to rest in divine provision, to give as freely as you receive, to know that what is yours by right cannot be taken, delayed, or denied. You begin to see money not as master, but as servant, a tool that flows through you for good. You see opportunities not as rare, but as endless. You see giving not as loss, but as multiplication. Think of the seed. A single seed planted in good soil produces many times more than itself. This is the picture of divine wealth. The world sees the seed as small, as limited, as not enough, but the law sees the seed as infinite potential, capable of creating orchards, forests, and harvests without number. In the same way, what you have now, however small it seems, contains within it the code of multiplication. When you align with the law, the little becomes much, the hidden becomes visible, and the unseen becomes tangible. Those who ignore this truth continue to live in cycles of fear. They cling to money as though it is their life, and when it slips from their hands, they are devastated. They treat wealth as if it were invented by men and therefore controlled by men. But when you awaken to the truth that wealth is divine, you realize no man, no system, and no circumstance holds the power to cut you off from it. They may close a door, but the law opens another. They may block a channel, but the law creates new ones. They may say no, but the law says less, and the yes of God cannot be silenced. The world ignores these secrets and stumbles in the dark. But you, beloved, are called to live in light. You are called to demonstrate the law of abundance so clearly that your life becomes a testimony. You are called to show that wealth is not the privilege of the few, nor the invention of men, but the inheritance of all who align with divine truth. When others see your peace in times of crisis, your joy in times of uncertainty, your generosity in times of fear, they will know that you have tapped into something higher than human systems. They will see the law at work through you, undeniable and unstoppable. Wealth is a spiritual law, and like every divine law, it is no respecter of persons. It does not favor one over another. It operates through alignment, not favoritism. Just as fire will warm anyone who draws near, just as water will quench the thirst of any who drink, so wealth will flow to anyone who believes, speaks, and acts in harmony with it. This means you are not excluded. It does not matter your past, your background, your failures, or the circumstances you were born into. The law is impartial. What matters is your alignment now. What matters is the words you speak today, the vision you hold today, the gratitude you practice today, the generosity you live today, the faith you carry today. Remember this: you are not here to beg for scraps from a world that did not invent wealth. You are here to command the law of abundance with your faith. You are here to call forth what already exists, to speak light into dark places, to demonstrate heaven's order on earth. Wealth is not something you earn, it is something you align with. It is not something you create, it is something you release. It is not something given to a chosen few, it is a law available to all who believe. So release your fear. Release your clinging. Release your complaints. Step into gratitude, faith, vision, and generosity. Know that the law is already working on your behalf. Supply is already flowing toward you. Opportunities are already being arranged. Doors are already opening. Wealth is not waiting to be invented, it is waiting to be received. And when you receive it in faith, it multiplies, circulates, and blesses not only you but everyone connected to you. Beloved, wealth is a spiritual law, not man's invention. Stand in this truth, live in this truth, speak this truth, and you will see it manifest with power. The world may ignore it, but you will demonstrate it, and your life will become living proof that abundance is eternal, unshakable, and divinely guaranteed. Beloved, before you ever drew breath, before you ever took your first step on this earth, you were already chosen, already appointed, already marked as an instrument through which divine abundance would be revealed. You are not here by chance, you are not a mistake of circumstances, you are not simply passing through existence without purpose. You are a living demonstration, a vessel through which the truth of spiritual supply and heavenly prosperity must be displayed before the eyes of the world. You were never called to live small, to shrink back in fear, or to walk in lack. You were called to reveal the richness of heaven in the land of the living. The world may say that abundance belongs only to a select few, that wealth is reserved for the fortunate, the educated, or the privileged, but those are the lies of limitation. Divine abundance does not recognize earthly ranks, social positions, or man-made systems. It flows according to spiritual law, and spiritual law answers to faith, not to favoritism. When you awaken to the truth that you are chosen, lack loses its grip. You begin to see that wealth is not something you must run after, but something that was already prepared for you to walk in. The same Creator who clothes the lilies in beauty and feeds the sparrows in their flight has already secured your inheritance. You were never meant to scrape for crumbs. You were designed to sit at the table of plenty. Yet many lie blind to this calling. They walk with bowed heads, speaking words of struggle, living as though lack were stronger than abundance. But you, beloved, are called to be different. You are chosen to be a light in darkness, a testimony in a world that has forgotten the eternal laws of provision. Every time you step into abundance with joy and gratitude, you are preaching a silent sermon louder than any words could ever carry. People will look at your life and see the evidence of divine care, the proof of unseen riches manifesting in seen reality. Your prosperity is not selfishness, it is witness. Your overflow is not greed, it is demonstration. To live as a demonstration of divine abundance is to recognize that you are not your own source. You are connected to a fountain that never runs dry. Channels may open and close, people may come and go, opportunities may rise and fall, but the fountain flows unceasingly. When one door shuts, another opens, and when one stream ends, another bursts forth. The demonstration of abundance is not that you never face need, but that even in the face of need, you walk with certainty, knowing provision is already on the way. This certainty is the mark of the chosen. It is the faith that stands unshaken when appearances scream otherwise. Consider the truth that your words are the brushstrokes painting the canvas of your demonstration. What you declare with conviction is what the world will see in your life. If you say, I live in endless supply, I am surrounded by opportunities, money flows to me from unexpected channels, then those very declarations must shape themselves into reality. Heaven and earth align to fulfill the words spoken in faith. If you say, I never have enough, I can't catch a break, nothing works for me, then you tie yourself to those very conditions. As one chosen to demonstrate abundance, you must guard your words as treasure, for they are not idle, they are active, alive, and creative. Your speech is your prophecy. Speak abundance, and abundance must answer. But abundance is more than wealth in your pocket, it is a spirit, a way of being, a consciousness. It is peace in your mind, joy in your heart, health in your body, and yes, prosperity in your affairs. To demonstrate divine abundance is to live whole, balanced, and free. It is to move through life with assurance that whatever is required will always show up at the appointed time. When the rent is due, the supply will be there. When the vision is given, the resources will appear. When the need arises, the answer is already prepared. You become a living example that the universe bends in favor of those aligned with divine law. The world ignores these truths. The world is caught in striving, hustling, fearing, hoarding. It builds systems that exalt scarcity, teaching people to fight one another for scraps. But you are not of the world. You are called to stand apart, to live differently, to prove that abundance is the original state of being. You do not compete, you attract. You do not chase, you magnetize. You do not beg, you receive with authority. Your demonstration is not only for yourself, but for every eye that watches you. When you live richly in spirit and in truth, you remind others of who they are, for they too are heirs of divine abundance. Generosity becomes the natural outflow of such a life. When you know you are chosen to demonstrate abundance, you do not fear giving. You do not clutch coins as if they are your only security. You know that as you release, you make room for greater inflow. You understand that circulation is the lifeblood of prosperity. Every act of giving testifies that your supply is endless, that you trust the law of return, that you are not bound by fear of loss. And as you give, the windows of heaven open wider, pouring blessings you cannot contain. In this way, your giving becomes part of the demonstration. Others see your open hand and your unshaken confidence, and they realize abundance is not theory, it is reality in motion. Beloved, faith is the key that unlocks this calling. Fear will always whisper, what if it doesn't work? What if the money doesn't come? What if you fail? But faith responds, my supply is guaranteed, my inheritance cannot be stolen, my abundance is secure. Fear is loud but empty, faith is quiet but unstoppable. As one chosen to demonstrate divine abundance, you cannot afford to let fear dictate your steps. Stand firm in faith, and the invisible will clothe itself in form. Stand firm in faith, and every need will bow to provision. Remember always this unshakable truth. What is yours by divine right cannot be withheld from you. No system, no delay, no person, no power can rob you of your portion. The wealth prepared for you is sealed with eternal law. It may seem delayed, but delay is only timing, it is never denial. Like fruit ripening on a tree, your abundance is coming into season. You must not give up, for the moment you align your words, your vision, your gratitude, and your generosity, the demonstration becomes inevitable. This calling is not only about money. It is about showing the world the richness of life that comes when one is aligned with spirit. It is about proving that love is abundant, that opportunities are abundant, that joy is abundant, that healing is abundant. You are not demonstrating for applause or recognition. You are demonstrating because it is who you are. You are a channel of divine expression, a living sermon, a visible sign of invisible law. Every step you take in faith, every blessing that overflows in your life, every miracle of provision that unfolds before you, all of it proclaims the truth that divine abundance is real, available, and unstoppable. Beloved, the time has come to rise into your calling. The time has come to shed the old garments of fear and lack, to silence the voices that tell you prosperity is beyond you, to stop waiting for permission from systems that cannot define you. You were chosen before the foundation of the world. Your abundance was written into your being before you ever faced a single challenge. Every need you will ever have has already been answered, every provision already secured, every blessing already prepared. Your task is not to force it, but to align with it, to believe it, to speak it, and to live it until it overflows without measure. You are chosen to demonstrate divine abundance, chosen to show that wealth is not man's invention but God's design, chosen to reveal that supply is not fragile but eternal, chosen to prove that joy, peace, prosperity, and freedom are not fantasies but realities. You are chosen, and because you are chosen, you cannot fail. The world may ignore these secrets, but you will live them. And as you live them, your life will become the undeniable evidence that heaven's wealth flows through you, unstoppable and eternal.